Billy Graham, the beloved evangelist, and his wife Ruth had 5 children. Ruth Graham is their youngest daughter. Ruth has 3 grown children, and I've just learned 7 grandchildren. She's here from Virginia. Her passion is to comfort the hurting and equip those who desire to help the broken. Her new book will do both. Fear not tomorrow. God is already there, trusting Him in uncertain times. Ruth, it's a treat to finally meet you.
Well, it's a delight to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm just learning that the relevance of this book is as timely as your latest grandchild.
Yes.
Tell us that story.
We talk about facing uncertain times. And my daughter called me on a Monday night to say that she was in labor. We knew that she was due to deliver, but not that early. And she called me the next morning and said, "Mom, I haven't delivered." So I went for my walk and my exercise and came back, and she called and said, "Mom, the baby's been born and there are multiple problems. The baby's still in the hospital and will be in the hospital until Christmas. He was born with this esophagus and the stomach do not meet. And he had some other problems, and I didn't know whether he'd be alive by the time I got to Philadelphia. So I drove lickety-split as fast as I could, but I took funeral clothes with me, not knowing what I would find. And God has met us in those fearful times, in those uncertain times. And over again, He's proved that to me. And this was just the most recent one as we faced that time. As if you hadn't had enough opportunities
to do exactly what your book says. Every chapter is a positive, trust at my doorstep, discover His trustworthiness, experience His presence, know His comfort, encounter His power, receive His help. I could go on with the rest. It is so affirmative, it's proactive, it's confident that God's going to be enough.
Well, we face these days very uncertain times. None of us know what's going to happen, and we're afraid. And people say, "Oh, well, God is there." Well, what does that mean? Do I want God to be there? Is He going to tell me I've messed up? Is He going to be harsh with me? And I really wanted to go back to the Gospels, because the Scripture says that Jesus is the exact representation of God. So I went back to the Gospels to explore Jesus' encounter with real people who had real problems and were facing uncertainty. And how did He relate to them? And that showed me, that gave me a picture of who God is. And yes, I want God in my tomorrow. I want God in my today, because He accepts me where I am, but moves me forward, and He does it gently. He does it sweetly. He's not looking for a way to exclude us. He's looking for a way to embrace us.
I love the story of the title of this book and how it came to be the theme of your latest work. Will you share it?
Yes, I was going through a difficult time with one of my children, and I had shared a little bit of it with my mother. And one day I went to the door, the postman rang the doorbell, and I went to the door, and there was a package. And from the handwriting, I knew that it was Mother's handwriting. It was from Mother. So I opened it, and it wasn't my birthday. It wasn't a book. It was a plaque that's about this long. It was hand calligraphy, and it says, "Fear not tomorrow, God is already there." And this plaque had hung over my mother's desk for as long as I could remember. And she had taken it off to send to me because she knew I needed that reminder, and it hangs in my office today.
You talked about the familiar back slant of her writing. This is, I think that obviously I took this book, Legacy of a Pack Rat, your mom's book, when we went to your home where you grew up till 18, and she signed it for me, and as soon as you said that in your book, I thought, I know what she means.
Very familiar back
Here is
slant.
the familiar writing, and she has written here, "To Moira, in memory of a truly fun time together on March 30th, 1992, lovingly, Ruth Graham." That is the date of an unforgettable day. What a wonderful woman. Her wisdom sneaks through the pages of this book.
Certainly. She was a profound influence on all of us.
Impact. We have a segment of celebrating the life of Ruth Bell Graham, one of the most inspiring hours of television I have ever enjoyed, and we're going to get to hear from her in this watch.
There's so much to look forward to, I mean, after this life, and there's so much to look back on. And the thing that stands out in my life above everything else is the faithfulness of God, and the happy memories and loads of friends, and all the promises of God that you have seen come true.
You know, that seemed to be a foundational theme for your mom, her anchor. Every time I'd bring up something of, you know, a distressing chapter, maybe with the boys, something, you know, that would have mom pulling her hair. We have all the promises of God. I had all the promises of God. She kept coming back to that.
And you could see in the clip her joy, that really the faithfulness of God. God was her center. There was no question. Jesus was her friend and her confidant. And it just showed through her life. And I'm sure we children gave her fits. I think other people gave her fits. But Mother always turned to Jesus, who was her best friend. And there's a wonderful story of Mother when she was so ill and in so much pain. Her arthritis had just taken over. Her spine had collapsed. And not a movement wasn't painful. And the nurse, I'd gone down early for coffee, and the nurse pulled me aside and said last night she'd gone back to check on my mother and found her kneeling beside her bed. Now that would have been very painful for my mother to do, but she wanted to kneel in adoration for the one that she had adored all her life.
That special, by the way, I'm sure is still available from the Billy Graham Association. And we were thrilled to discover that all my little interview segments with Ruth are in the additional pieces.
You pulled out some wonderful things on Mother.
It was a great, great time. I appreciated that every child shared tearless, strong, confident, beautiful memories of who was Mom and how did she impact my life. And we actually have a clip from the funeral service where you're sharing your heart, Ruth. Let's watch.
God began training my mother for this mission many years ago in China. It was far from easy, but she had a tender and yielded heart. Her happiness and fulfillment did not depend on circumstances. She was the lovely, beautiful, wise woman she was, because early in her life she chose Christ as her center, her home, her purpose, her partner, her confidant, her example, and her vision. And we can all make that choice today.
Thank you for coming. As you've already heard, she was an incredible woman. We were married for nearly 64 years. And I wish you could look in that casket because she's so beautiful. I sat there a long time last night just looking at her and praying because I know she had a great reception in heaven. And I want to thank all of you for sharing in this service today. I wish I could stay and visit everyone, but I won't be able to because we're going to Charlotte, where tomorrow she will be buried at our library. And my own strength is pretty limited, but I do appreciate you being here and would like to see all of you. And so I hope you'll accept this word publicly, that I appreciate your being here.